Hello, everyone. You're listening to the Small Business Show. My name is Swire Ho. You can also call me Promo Guy. Today, my guest is Brendan Menapace from Netco Media. Brendan is the content director for Print and Promo Marketing Magazine, an industry publication that caters to print and promotional product distributors. For the last 9 years, he has been in charge of the headline newsletter, where PPM features unique case study from around the world of branded merchandise, news relevant to distributors and the business. If you follow me on social media, any news that I share probably come from the headline news that Brendan has shared. I'm very excited for this show, but before that, welcome today, Brendan.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I got so many questions to ask you, but I really wanted to find out how did you get into the promo, covering the promo and print industry? And as a journalist, what do you like most about writing what we do?
That's a really good question. I think I kind of stumbled into it the same way that I'm finding out a lot of people are, which was I came out of college with a journalism degree, and this is a tough industry to find a job in. I've luckily found what at the time was North American Publishing Company. Now it's rebranded as NAPCO Media under the Printing United Alliance umbrella. And it was really just a trial by fire to learn everything about promo. I didn't at the time really know anything about it aside from being, on the end user side. I'd get t-shirts and promo things just like everyone else, and like including my first day on the job getting, a branded like water bottle and things like that at my desk. And since then, I go to the industry trade shows. I, speak to so many people that, suddenly, when my colleagues were explaining things to me, it was overwhelming. And then suddenly, after going to a few trade shows and really just kind of paying attention to things, you realize like, oh, I actually understand this now. It rubs off by osmosis. So that was really how I found myself in the industry. And since then, I've continually am learning every single year that I've been here at all of the shows and all of the conversations I have with people. I'm still learning so much. And from a journalism perspective, I just love finding, why does anyone gets into this industry? Because they love finding a good story and finding interesting people with interesting stories. And there's so many of those in promo and all the promo adjacent industries every single day. All that's really what I want to do with headlines is, be educational and provide information that promotional products distributors and other promotional products professionals can find helpful in their business, but also to entertain you. It is like, it's if you're not having fun reading it, why are you going to read it? And that's not to say that every single story I write is supposed to be funny and fun, because obviously that's not the case. But, really take the educational and the business facing content and make it something that people enjoy reading.
Thank you so much for sharing, Brendan. You really, literally do make my job easier. And
That makes me happy.
there's so many industry that you cover. If you haven't read Brandon's newsletter, someday he will talk about what he loves, which is skateboarding, and
Yeah.
other times he will talk about golfing. He will talk about the mover and shaker in the industry. It covers so many different things. And what I want to focus on, Brandon, is I know that there are pieces out there by Fast Company magazine who talk about we don't want swag anymore. They keep using the word swag. So for people, for a company who are thinking about promotional product, it's just wasteful, something that you kind of give away. So what would you comment on that, and how, in your word, do you think companies should be considering using promotional products?
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question. And it's something we've been covering for years now. My colleague Sean Norris, when he was in charge, he did a really great, uh, deep and long read of, they called it the trinkets and trash, pejorative towards the industry. And, it's seen all the time this narrative pops up. And, of course, the industry is concerned with environmental concerns about all this. There, you go to any trade show and you see so much about limiting waste, recycled materials, all things like that. And before I even get into that, I think really what people have learned is they just need to be smarter with their promos. It's a very easy conclusion to jump to say, oh yeah, promotional products are the problem. People don't want these. People are just going to throw them away. That's not true. It's a very oversimplified conclusion. People are going to hold on to something if you give them something worth holding on to. It's as simple as that. I have countless products that I hold on to, and it's not because of any obligation to hold on to them. Something like a high quality water bottle, that's an everyday use. A piece of apparel that you can tell is made well, constructed well, the imprint or embroidery, whatever decoration method they use, if it's well done, you're going to want to hold on to it. And if you do something, you know, we were talking off air about Carhartt as an example of a company that, has sort of rebranded itself beyond just its original target audience. Carhartt's a great example of this. You can use a premium brand like this or create this premium aesthetic, and people will hold on to that item. That's just using apparel as an option or as an example. This extends obviously to tech. This extends to every other facet of the promotional products industry, where if you take that extra time to really look at what end users want, you can look at retail, you can look at the things people are buying from a direct to consumer basis, and let that influence your decision. And again, coming at this as someone who is purely just a consumer, I have that sort of double mindset of being someone who reports on the industry, but also someone who just exists in the world and gets branded products. So, I know what I would like, and that's something that you can tell is made well. You can tell the distributor put a lot of thought into this, and the supplier has a quality product. That's really as simple as that.
Yeah, Brandon, thanks for, giving me such a great answer for it. And to the Carter example, Carter didn't choose to go to streetwear. It's actually a different organization called Carhartt WIP to pitch them, because they know that skateboarder, you probably know,
Yep.
likes to wear Carhartt. They like the oversized jersey. So kind of protect them, kind of feels cool. And also I got to throw in there for the Stanley tumbler. It's so popular right now, but Stanley almost discontinued that product, which they actually do. But an influencer picking up the tumbler, and they are reselling the Stanley tumbler. And then ultimately, Stanley actually couldn't keep up with production. Now, everyone, everywhere, are running out of Stanley tumblers. So for a brand to recognize who the target audience will be and actually answer this question to themselves, what do they really want? So I think the answer to that piece is, if you're not focusing and not understanding what your audience want, yes, they will go to trash. But for example, like the award behind me is a piece of paper. If I give it to you, Brandon, you probably don't relate to it because your name's not on it. Think about runners. They have beat up T-shirt that they have ran a marathon 15 years ago. They still wear it every single day because they can connect to it emotionally. But if you give it to me, it doesn't serve the same effect. So I think we have to go back to the company or the marketer sometime to ask them, who are your audience? Like, why do you think that these items or gifts are related to them?
Yeah, that's exactly right. You made a really good point there about the sentimental value. That's obviously, I'd say, just as important as objectively the quality of a product. Like you said, a ratty T-shirt from a charity 5K, if you didn't run that 5K, it's probably worthless to you. But if you did and you have really good memories attached to it, you remember training for it, you remember doing it with your friends, you're never going to get rid of that. You're absolutely going to hold on to that forever. And even if it becomes, even if it disintegrates to the point where it's a rag, you're going to hold on to it because you can't bear to get rid of that. And it's almost like parting with the memory. And, the other point you made with the Stanley tumblers, almost getting rid of that product, sometimes it is just luck. Sometimes you can't predict what I've written about this before. Sometimes products just become hits on social media and there's no real logic to it. There's no boardroom full of people crunching numbers and doing, Moneyball to decide which product is going to hit on social media next. Sometimes it is just luck of the draw, and that's something you can't predict, but it absolutely happens, like you said.
Yeah, it's funny that how the promo sometimes is on the front line for the trend. Sometimes they are taking what's popular and jumping onto the trend. For example, I'm probably giving out my age right now. So 90 is cool again.
Yeah.
So if I pull out all the wardrobe when I was young, and then I'll be popular again. They are going back to the style again, going this changes again. So maybe it will bring up brands that have been forgotten, right? So I see all Nikes are doing right now is to reintroduce some of their popular sneaker style in the 90s. They don't even need new shoes anymore. So just bring out the no style and people will pay up for it. So it's funny and it's difficult sometimes to watch the trends and connecting. So the question will be for companies who are out there who wants to jump onto the trend. How would you advise us to look at what's available to us and then what kind of trend we could probably insert our brand onto and to get more awareness out there?
Well, I think that's a tough question. You know, looking at things like social media, all these like influencers, like you said, who are posting things, it's tough because things just move so quickly anymore. That you know, a trend will take off, and then by the time people have warmed up to it, that's old news. It doesn't have the same effect as it did before. But looking at what younger people especially are doing and trying to not necessarily replicate it, but adopt it. You look at the way a lot of people I've written extensively about the fast food industry taking cues from streetwear drops, brands like Supreme and Palace with these limited drops with only a few items, maybe 6 to 10 items that there are higher quality, and even uniform items that they have in the restaurant are not, the stuffy uniforms you think of in the past. They're t-shirts with modern silhouettes, but as you pointed out, all very reminiscent of the 90s. Everything's boxier and baggier again, but they're cooler. That's the way to put it. And I think the best way that a brand can do that, to look outside of apparel, is just, again, it's hard to predict, I'd say, but just try to look at what people are doing, look at what they're buying, look at what they're receiving, and see how you can integrate that into your own business model. Because everyone, all distributors, clients, they want to be the ones with the coolest products. They just might not know what to ask for. And that's where I think distributors can be an extraordinarily valuable asset, to be the ones who can say, this is where the demand is, this is what people want, this is what works for this particular vertical.
Yeah, I still remember, again, it puts years on how I am. Remember, Von Dutch was used to be cool. Like everyone wants to dress like a trucker. So I actually have clients in the tech industry. They come to me as, I wanted to dress like a mechanic, a trucker. So just so happened I work with actually auto body shop. So I gave them the entire uniform with the trucker hat, branded with patches, things like that. They were really happy. So I think as a distributor, sometimes I look at different industry. Maybe construction had this. Maybe my tech client has this. Maybe my nonprofit client had this. Can I mix them up together? And sometimes I could be jump onto something that is unique sometimes, because what happens at another industry, another different sector might not think of. So I like to mix things up a little bit. That's why, you mentioned all the collaboration, right? When you are maybe classical fans, and you could also jump on the new trend that could be a YouTuber. My daughter follow a YouTuber called Two Set Violin. They are going on the world tour right now. So these are two young guys play violin, and they could afford to sell branded merchandise for $50 t-shirt, and it's sold out everywhere they go.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's another thing. All of the YouTubers and social media people, all of the platforms like YouTube and Spotify have built in, company stores, so to speak, in the platform where they can sell products directly. So you can even look, there's really nowhere where you can't see what people are buying these days and where the demand is. It's everywhere.
Yeah, I wanted to, since you touched on that, I do wanted to ask you this question. A brand would think that promotional product is something that they will purchase and give away. But speaking on that, a lot of companies actually jump on the bandwagon, get higher quality product, get it well made to become branded merchandise. Can you touch on that? And can brand, if they execute it properly, to increase revenue, having the right brand and merchandise?
Yeah. You know, again, I'm plugging our own headlines newsletter a lot, but these are things that we've written about a lot. And the way that I've worded it is that everyone is a lifestyle brand now. There's no, if you're a restaurant, if you're, a shoe store, you're not just that. There's no such thing as just one thing. You've seen companies like Chipotle is a great example of this, that it's a fast food place or fast casual, however they want to build themselves, but they started a whole standalone online store. I think it's called Chipotle Goods, where they've been selling t-shirts, all sorts of apparel products, all sorts of other products, and continually refreshing their own inventory and doing cool things like making a shirt with a QR code that when you scan it, it might go to something different depending on what they're currently advertising, or doing something like, oh, we used a bunch of avocado pits to create the dye for this t-shirt. They're doing things that are eye-catching, and others are now, not to say that Chipotle was necessarily the front runner on this, they're just an example that I'm using, but all of their competitors now in that space are seeing that. They're seeing that it works, and rather than maybe just sell a t-shirt every now and then, they now have their own branded store, and that's a separate online store, and this is a separate entity completely, because now they have to be an all-encompassing lifestyle brand. You have to be, because attention spans are so limited in a social media age, you have to be top of mind all the time, and just plugging your core product doesn't do enough. Even something in sports is another good example here of something we as society obviously pay a ton of attention to, but it was the Coyotes in the NHL that they hired someone specifically to be, I can't remember the exact title they gave him, but basically be a brand director for everything that's not about the sports. The actual on ice action almost has nothing to do with this. He was creating really designer quality gear, like apparel and all sorts of other merchandise that was to appeal to people who might have never watched a Coyotes game, but might live in Arizona and have that local pride, and they want to show off the brand of the Coyotes, not the team, the Coyotes. And that's also something you're seeing. Like, think about Yankees hats, Dodgers hats. These are teams that have transcended their like on-field persona. They are now brands, and that's going to be something I think that we're going to see a lot more of. And again, especially in the social media age, you get a shirt on the back of, if you go to the game, you get a shirt on the back of your seat, you're sharing pictures of it. And everywhere you go, you want to be like, whether your team wins and you're at a parade, you want the cool shirt that maybe no one else has. You want these grails, like whether it has like a vintage look to it, something that looks, and this kind of goes back to what we were talking about in terms of finding something that people want to have, creating something that, it's a brand. It's not just a team. That's a very long-winded response to your question. I'm sorry.
Well, we all want to be an individual, and I think a brand needs to do their job to understand who we are. Why do we connect to your brand? It doesn't matter if you're a sports team, if you are a school, if you are a nonprofit. There are people who support you. That's why you're still in business, right? But you got to think outside of the box to have them support you. Like your example, Brandon, if I go to a nonprofit gala, for example, they give me some type of merchandise. Then with my cell phone, all of us are mini journalists, right? And if we share to our social media, even if I only have 10 followers on, whatever, right? Then I could influence, I think every one of us can influence 10 people. They're really close to you, maybe your spouse, maybe your kids. What if you could use that promotional product or branded merchandise to ask your supporter to become your mini ambassador, and then they influence 10 other people? So how would that translate to a marketing effort? How would that ROI becomes to you? Because a lot of people sometimes will argue with me, what's the ROI that I could get on promotional product, right? When we buy Google ads, we could see our stats right away. So I think it's more vague, but if you do it right, you can see, like for example, if you get the finals, right, when you go to a favorite team's sports, you're going to post a picture, you're going to send it to your friends. And when you finish a concert, when you buy, a concert t-shirt, you're going to wear it to work, or if
Hmm.
it's allowed, the next day. So actually spreading the word, or for nonprofit, people ask you, who are you supporting, with that logo, then I will become the mini ambassador and tell others what I have experienced and why they should be focusing on, what I believe in too. So I think we have to keep that in mind. And I think Google online ads might not just do that.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that everyone can be an influencer. It's a relative term. You don't have to have a million followers for someone else to notice what you're wearing or holding or using and think that's cool. What's that brand? Just a few months ago, I was at a wedding and I noticed someone had a power bank. Looked, I'm like, that looks nice. I recognized the brand on it, and now, I'm obviously very close to this world, but someone else who isn't will now think, oh, what's that company? They'll Google it. That's the ROI you're talking about, and that's just at a table full of 6 people. It doesn't have to be on stage in front of 1,000, and that's, I think, really what every promotional distributor wants to do for their client is they want to create a product that gets eyes on it, that gets people talking, because then you're talking about the brand. And yes, it's much harder to quantify than something like that allows for Google Analytics, where you can see exactly how many eyes you got on a product. There's a bit more of trust that a t-shirt is going to get that attention, but it absolutely does. We're all looking at what everyone else has and what they're using, and if something is interesting and noteworthy and just looks good, it's gonna rub off on someone.
Yeah, the reason that I never ever use the word swag, which stand for stuff we all get, is I
Hmm.
think promotional product and especially branded merchandise can be a limited edition. So people like to be special, right? We all like to
Hmm.
be special. If I am the top seller for the $1 million club, I wear this jacket. Or if I've been through the Iron Man challenge, I get this tattoo, right? Or sometimes they put
Yep.
tattoo for the Iron Man logo because I've been through that. So I am special. I am the unique elite group that we like to think.
Hmm.
So with the same budget, I sometimes will tell my client, you don't need to get the maximum amount of items that you get. What if you could create a special experience for, let's say, your top 10 or top 20? So make it really special, make it unique, and then you can actually build trust. And plus, they will give you more business if you do it the right way.
Oh, 100%. Everyone loves an incentive for that. And, there's a reason that the things that Nike and Ralph Lauren made for Olympic athletes, we can't get all that, nor should we. They worked their whole lives for that. But that goes back to the streetwear discussion we were having before, where people are really incentivized when they find out there's only a few items. That
Limited.
limited, yep,
Yeah.
that limited drop mentality has been adopted by so many people, that streetwear style, where it's the same as old commercials, like call now because supplies are running out. You're going to pick up the phone, or you're at least more likely to pick up the phone in that regard. So yeah, and I think it still goes back to what we were saying about the sentimental value, where if you got, let's say your company gave you an award, or a piece of apparel or any other branded product that shows that you might have hit a sales landmark or just some landmark at your job that was really worth celebrating, you're going to hold on to that. You're never like, and that is something for everyone else to strive for too. They're going to want that. And, maybe if you're a nonprofit and a certain tier of people who donate get, a special gift of some sort, that's going to be an incentive. And then because not everyone got it, if let's say the 15 people they're influencing on social media see that, they think, wow, how'd you get that? They start asking questions, and then they might, donate to that nonprofit because they want the bag or the sweatshirt or the award, whatever it might be.
Yeah, I really like that example. So sometimes I will get client ask me, we only have, let's say, $500, which
Mhm.
in some campaign it could be small. So what I will actually challenge them, I will ask them, do you guys have any social media following? chances are most company nowadays do have. I would say buy something really nice branded for $500 and do a sweepstakes on your social media. Ask for the call to action that you want. Maybe sign up for newsletter, maybe buy something, or maybe just share it to a friend. I can't tell you how many times that I have shared to all my friends and email everyone just to try to win something that is $10 value. So think of that. I think that's a limited quality too. And then if the persons who won, you can actually make a lot of marketing campaign, a lot of PR for that. So you don't have to have $1 million budget
Mhm.
to get people attention. You just have to think like, what do people really want and wanted to see, and you give it to them.
Yeah, and you brought up a great point about the social media call to action. Anytime you can blend those two worlds, because that's, as the world becomes more digital, there's physical products still have a huge role in that. But if you can combine online integration of people going to your website, going to your social media page, by using a physical product as part of it, that's great. That's a perfect blend of the two.
Yeah, especially you could ask people to do user generated content. For
Mhm.
example, I follow Rogue, Fitness. They always have challenge that if you can lift or if you can challenge, that we have and post it on the social media, the winner will get actually a special T-shirt. So many people provide user generated content using the brand. So think of that as your marketing plan. Can you create some type of challenge? People love challenges nowadays.
People love challenges. They
Yeah,
absolutely do.
and create a hashtag and campaign over it, and have people actually, if they can, use your actual product and services. Now, other people will, because we don't like ad. We know when we see an ad right away.
Yeah,
We
you can
click
smell it from a
skip.
mile away.
Yeah, as soon as we can. But if someone else is using or answering questions that we might have, then I will pay attention. Like, how do other use this product and service? And I want to learn more about that. So if you can find ways to generate that using the incentive of promo item, then you're on to something nice here.
100%. And that's where QR codes have been really valuable too, because you can print those on a product, whether it's apparel, and you can integrate it into the logo. It doesn't have to just be a square. And you can change what that directs to all the time, every day if you want to. It could be whatever you're advertising right now.
Yeah. Brandon, I have you on the show. I have to ask you this question. We're getting close to the holiday season. What
Mhm.
kind of trends do you see in the holiday? And let's focus in, the business community. What kind of corporate gifts do you think must have all the sector that we should consider in 2023?
Well, anyone who has been reading us for a little while now is going to probably know what I'm going to say here, and that's kidding. Kidding has been huge. Ever since I'm going to use the pandemic as the real watershed moment, probably, but it's not exclusive to that time period. But that was a time when people needed to reach, whether it was employees or customers, they needed to reach them remotely for this, to use a word I've grown to hate. It was unprecedented. And that was when companies would, maybe you're a new hire, they were sending you a branded kit with something like a t-shirt, water bottle, all the things that I received on my first day at the job, but in a branded box where the branding experience starts from the second it gets dropped off in the mail. And similarly to QR codes, as the world reopened and shifted back to normality, that stuck around. And people really saw the value in combining a printed product like this box where you can have branding on all of the sides of this, whether it's a bag, whether it's a box, whatever vessel it's delivered in. It's an unboxing experience first and foremost. We're talking about YouTube. That's a huge thing. But then inside of it, you can have products that complement each other. There could be food. I've seen companies do a s'mores kit for their recipients. They've done, pieces of apparel that work together, and there's, maybe a pair of sweatpants and a blanket for as things cool off and people are hanging out at home. That's in conversations that I've had with suppliers, distributors, and buyers. Those kits have just been so popular. So finding products from across the whole spectrum of what could be considered a promotional item in this industry and wrapping it all up literally, maybe even with a bow, with a package that has your customers branding on it, so there's no mistaking where it came from. Yes, all the products inside will have a logo on it, most likely to some degree, but it's a whole experience. And I think that's what really a lot of distributors and end buyers want with their campaigns, is that it's an experience.
Yeah, I really like that. And I think to add on to that, if your product or services solve a problem, can that kit uh, actually give the audience a taste of the actual experience? Maybe you're
Yeah.
going on a expensive cruise. Can that box give them some thinking of that? Or in the case of LinkedIn, I noticed that people who switch jobs and they actually post what they receive from their new employer the first day. So how would that do to your recruitment process? And people who are on the edge of thinking about maybe switching also, wow, they get this really nice box and really nice compared to other things that we do. I know young people, they would rather take less money sometime, right?
Mm-hmm.
To have work in a cooler place or something that they really stood by and stand for and really proud of. I'm working with this organization because they in line with my value. A lot of times people will actually take less money working for those organizations.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. You're 100% correct there. And you can tell your brand story through this. You can show that you're a company that cares about its employees or its customers, whoever might be receiving this kit. And you can show a bit, like you use the cruise as an option. You can show a bit about what you do, and whether it's, a hotel could do something like send slippers and a robe, just, kind of remind you of the luxury experience you have there. And from an employee standpoint, it does show, you're part of the team. You have these shirts, you have the hat, you have the water bottle, you have something fun like, bags of popcorn, things that like just are fun. They're good. They're nice. Show we care about you as a person. You're a part of the team. You're valuable. You're valued. And like, it's all just, again, all consumed by the brand. You can't look at any part of it without thinking of that brand positively.
Brendan, it might be a difficult and hard question for you, but I wanted to see if you can give us one case study for a brand that you follow that you think doing everything right. And can you also talk about what they have done to make you come to this conclusion?
That is a really difficult question. One of the ones that stands out to me recently was the company Rivian, which is a electric vehicle company. They had have a pretty tough uphill battle with, other more established. It's hard to disrupt the automobile industry.
Hmm.
That's impossible. And even the electric vehicle side of it, the first thing you might think of is Tesla or a Prius or, any number of the more established automobile brands that are into electric vehicles now. What Rivian did was they did what I mentioned a few minutes ago and really become a lifestyle brand. Even if you don't have this car yet, people are interested in, they do bags, they do apparel, they do all these things that it's very carefully curated with color schemes. Everything is reminiscent of the main product, which is the car. So you can't get a piece of apparel without still tying it back to the car. And I think what they did is they built now a community of people who are really, really excited about this brand, whether they're driving that car or not. So that's something that stood out to me through limited releases and a very cohesive plan of merchandise with branding that isn't overt, but it's visible, but it's not overt. It's still extremely fashionable. The logo placement is something you see in a designer brand. That was something that stood out to me of like, yeah, they really nailed that one.
Yeah, I think being fashionable and really studying your audience is key to success because people always ask me, what should I buy? What should
Mhm.
we get? I'll ask them a question, who are your target audience? Tell me more about who they are. Because the idea is not use the word swag, right? You want to be limited. You want it to be catered to people who will be your customer anyway, because not
Mhm.
everyone can be your customer. And so why spend money to market to people who don't even consider your brand? So for the Rivian example, they know their audience. They wanted to cater to them. It's a different, unique experience for driving our car, having our experience, and come try us out. So I think that's
Yeah.
a great example, Brandon.
Thank you. Yeah, it's the high perceived value. Everything, even if it's not an expensive item, it carries with it a perception of quality.
Yeah, it really goes back to what you said. It's a lifestyle. People who
Mhm.
ride Harleys will always just ride Harleys, and people who drive a Jeep or drive whatever that they do, that's the brand, and you can't break them away. It's their lifestyle choice that they choose. It could be the software that you use. It could be, you write a lot, you cover a lot about sports, baby. They only play that sports team, and all the branded merchandise in their houses, that sports team. That maybe that's where you went to college, and can you as a company become that brand? So I think
Mhm.
if you can answer that question and know who your target audience will be and cater to them, not only you could get more awareness, you can actually make more money doing that too.
Yeah, absolutely. The other
So
example, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, go ahead. I'd love
I
to.
was saying
You
saying
have one more.
sports knocked something loose in my head, and this is a lot less academic of a response, but the St. Louis Cardinals did an emo night presentation or emo night promo night, and they had an original piece of artwork of the Cardinal with like the emo bangs, and like it said in the what did it say? It was like the My Chemical Romance font, but it said Cardinals, I think. I can't remember the exact font, but it was such a good original thing that you could see people going to the ballpark if they didn't care about the Cardinals at all just to get that t-shirt. And I'm not a Cardinals fan. I'm a Phillies fan. I am anti-Cardinals. Sorry, St. Louis fans, but I wanted that shirt.
Yeah, that's a good example. Even they're not sending to the target audience. I know you
Mm-hmm.
cover it, so you probably on the newsletter. But even people who are not interested, maybe they don't know about your industry at all. But
Yep.
if you have a nice product, people take notice.
It's the entry point. Yeah, exactly. It's the entry point for them.
So, Brandon, I know that there's a lot more that we could talk about that could go on for the next 4 hours. But for listener whom I wanted to reach out to you or to follow you and learn more about what you're doing, what would be a good way?
Sorry, I think I accidentally got muted there. I'm not sure what
Oh,
happened. Can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you. So,
Okay,
what would
yeah.
be the best way to reach out and learn more about your work?
Well, you can find the headlines newsletter at printandpromomarketing.com. We have all of our content there. There's also the free product search for distributors who register with us. And in the short term, you can visit us at the Printing United Expo. We will be there in Atlanta. That will be October 17th through the 20th. I'm sorry, October 18th through the 20th. You'll find us there. You can find our sister publications there. We'll be running all around the floor. If you are there and see me running around, please stop me and say hi.
Thank you so much, Brandon, for coming on to the show today. I learned a lot.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.